All right, peace everybody. This is Brother Yusef. I'm back with another video. In today's video, I want to talk about something that is very important, something that affects millions of Americans and millions of people all over the world. And today's topic is going to be how to overcome depression, the dark reflection of the soul. How to overcome depression, the dark reflection of the soul. All right. Depression is something that's a very powerful negative energy that people generate. It is actually a program, right? Depression is actually a program. And while I'm talking here in this video, I want to reference some books that everybody can read to get a deeper understanding. Because one of the main things you got to pay attention to is your consciousness and how your mind works as you live day to day. And some good books to reference and read about this topic is there's a book by Carl Jung called Psyche and the Soul, right? A good book on understanding how the subconscious mind works and how it's all connected to the soul. Another good book is Programming Your Subconscious Mind. I can't remember the name of the author, but that book gives a lot of good understanding about how things around you every day affect your reality and programs you without you even knowing it. Okay, so these are two good books to reference as I talk about this in this video. Okay, so depression is something that's a very powerfully negative thing that people deal with, and some people deal with it without even knowing it, right? And usually what most people do to stop dealing with depression is, they usually do something to make themselves numb, right? They numb themselves down instead of dealing with the root of what's causing the depression. Okay, and that's very important. We're going to talk about that in the video today. Some people get high, some people get drunk, right? And some people medicate. And if you have to take medicine for this thing, that's understandable, right? If it's helping you, it's helping you. But as far as getting high and drinking alcohol to get drunk, these things are not going to help you. It's only going to add to the problem because you're not dealing with this reflection in the soul that's dark, right? And if you don't deal with this thing, what's going to happen is the energy of this dark force inside you is only going to get stronger, because you have to understand the human body itself is like a battery. It generates a lot of energy. Demonic forces feed off of negative emotions. This is something that we have to really understand, right? Unless a demon gets all the way in your soul, they can't really force you to do anything, right? But what you could do is you can open up gateways for them to enter. Okay, you can open up gateways for them to enter into the soul, into the consciousness. They can influence you to do things, but the choice is yours. The choice is yours, and this is very important for people to understand. Some people that are depressed feel like they have no choice, right? And I understand what you mean, and that's not true, because at one point I thought I didn't have a choice, right? But it's deeper than that, okay? It's deeper than that. You don't want these negative forces affecting you or messing up your life, okay? So to start this video off, I want to talk about two important things that everybody has to understand how these two things work, right? To start out to understand depression. And I'm going to be quick on this part. You have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Think of the subconscious mind as a building, right, that stores information, okay? It has everything you need inside of it, everything your body needs, everything your soul, and everything you need, everything you want to access is in your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind knows all, and it pretty much can do anything, right? It is like your own personal genie. They teach you this in the documentary, what is it called? The documentary The Secret, okay? Which is kind of old. It came out years ago, but everybody who's watching the video should watch the documentary The Secret, all right? Very, very good. It talks about the subconscious mind as a secret that you can use to program your life every day, and how you are programming your life without you even knowing it, okay? That came out years ago. It's very, very good, though. So your subconscious mind is like a building that has all this information in it, right? And all this stuff in here belongs to you, okay? It belongs to you, right? But the subconscious mind, with all this stuff in it, it needs something to protect it, right? So the conscious mind, which is pretty much what you deal with every day, is what you're aware of, right, is the protector of the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is the protector of the subconscious mind, okay? Now the conscious mind can be tricked in some kind of ways, right? By one thing it could be tricked by is a choice, the choice you make, right? You can override the conscious mind when the conscious mind is trying to tell you something. Some people call that the first mind, right? Always trust your first mind. He's trying to warn you and tell you, no, don't do that. But you can override that and make a choice to let something in, okay? So the conscious mind is like the bodyguard. It stands in front of this building like a bouncer and say, you can't come in here. But what if your conscious mind is very ignorant, right? And you can slip him $100 bills and slide up in the building. Or he's not protecting all the doors to the building and you sneak in some other kind of way. Okay, this is how demonic forces and negative people enter the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind will give you anything you want. It would do anything you want, right? But it doesn't know right and wrong. It does not know right or wrong. A lot of children operate off the subconscious mind as they're young, right? They don't know right and wrong until they're about 4 or 5 years old, right? 3 or 4 years old. And then they start to develop an ego, which is an identity, right? They develop this identity from their parents calling them this specific name so many times, or through different things in the world that gives them an identity and tells them who they are. Now they think that they're something else. Okay, they have an identity. That's the ego, right? It's the false self. Okay, so the subconscious mind doesn't know right and wrong, so it can be hacked. All right, it can be hacked. Someone can get into the subconscious mind and program it to do what you want, right? People can force their way in there, or they can slide their way in there, like I said. So, prime example: when you watch TV shows, images and pictures will flash across the screen, right? And these images and pictures will actually start to program the subconscious mind without you even knowing it. So you could be walking down the street and all of a sudden you've been seeing these images of McDonald's playing on your screen, on your phone, on Facebook or whatever, and then all of a sudden you want McDonald's and you don't know why. You're craving something that you don't even know why, because you've been programmed. So usually when this happens is when a person is very young, right? They can get beat up by bullies. They can get molested or raped. They can have a parent or somebody that beat them half to death when they was kids. You know, these things create dark reflections in the soul, right? Because the child, they buried it. A lot of them bury this stuff, right? Especially at a certain age, they bury this stuff deep inside, right? Or sometimes it's not even a child, it's a young adult, right? You can have something that happened to you and you hold this on the inside, and from you holding that negative energy, right? That trauma that you went through, right? When you hold this trauma, you don't deal with it. What happens is it opens a gateway. It creates this negative energy inside of you. It creates a dark reflection in your soul. And it creates this negative energy that opens a gateway for more negative energy to come in on a consistent basis. So when that happens, the person starts to become programmed, right? This traumatic event they went through programs them to act and respond a certain way in this world. Okay, this is very important to understand. A lot of people you see that's always angry and they don't know why they're mad. They just always mad. Something happened to them. A traumatic event happened to them. And traumatic events could happen on different levels. Some people could have had a gun put in their face. Some people could have had somebody bully them, right? It's two different levels to it. And somebody who got a gun put in their face may say, oh, it wasn't as traumatic as mine, but it's still trauma, right? So the trauma happens to the person. It opens this dark gateway in the soul, which reflects back the energy, right, that this person went through. This person is expressing this emotion out and they don't know why they feel this way, right? Even if some instance where a woman is cheated on constantly, right? Or maybe a guy been played by many women, right? He can't find love. He can't get married. He can't get the woman he wants. It's trauma to some people. It breaks their heart, right? Getting your heart broken is a type of trauma. So now you may have trust issues. Now you may have issues where you hate people. Okay, a lot of serial killers started because they couldn't get a date. Something as simple as that, right? They mad at all the pretty women because the pretty women ignored them and wouldn't give them the time of day. So they went to kill pretty women, right? Or they hated their mama. Their mama did something to them, and they hated all the women in the world. So went to go kill all the women, as many women as they could. So this trauma affects people in different ways. For some people, they express it as a negative emotion. They always mad. They can't never get along with nobody. They hate everybody in the world, right? And if you don't get rid of this negative energy inside of you, it will cause you to become depressed. Okay, it can express itself as depression, anxiety. Okay, it can express itself in many different ways. But we're going to focus on depression here, right? If you don't deal with these issues, it's going to cause you to become depressed. So what does the subconscious mind do? The subconscious mind, even though it's a traumatic event, if it happened in this life, right? You hold a lot of traumatic events in your past lives. But a traumatic event that happens in this life, the subconscious mind tries to push it in your face when you go to sleep at night, right? You'll have bad dreams. Or you'll think about something that happened to you years ago. Right? You ain't thought about it in months or years, and all of a sudden it pops back up. Every now and then it pops up, right? The reason why that pops up because your subconscious mind say, look, here, you need to deal with this. You gotta handle this. If you don't, it's gonna drive you crazy. Right? If you don't, your depression gonna get worse. So in a lot of spiritual practices and a lot of magical societies, right, the first thing they make you do is you got to face your demons, right? You got to face the part of yourself, your lower nature, which is you. You got to face that part of yourself that wanted these. That's right. There's a part of yourself that's lower, a lower part of yourself that actually wants these things to happen. It wants to destroy you, right? You have to face that part of yourself. And as a counselor, right, as a spiritual counselor myself, I can tell you it's one of the hardest things to get people to do is to look at themselves, right? Because nobody really wants to face the negative aspect of what's making them a certain way, okay? So in order to get over depression, the first thing you got to do is you got to look at the negative part of yourself and deal with that thing. Either you're going to approach the person that did whatever to you. If you can't approach him, you need to learn how to let it go. Now, learning how to let it go is how I got over some of my depression, right? I was very depressed as in my 20s and didn't even know why, right? But there are some things that I was dealing with mentally that I understood that in order to be a better man, to be a better husband, I had to overcome these things. And one of the main books that helped me, because around 2007, I started to leave the church, right? And as I left the church, I dealt with a lot of regret, a lot of pain, not that somebody did something to me. It was just, I was leaving something. I was coming outside of my comfort zone. Okay. It was very hard for me. And I was depressed. Okay. I was depressed. And the way I overcame it, right? And there were some other things, but the way I overcame depression was I learned how to change my frequency. Okay. I made a choice. First of all, I made a choice. I said, I'm not going to be like this no more. I deserve better than this. My mother, which is one of the reasons why I named my company New Life Tools. Actually, another reason is why, because NU is the primordial force in the universe, right? The Egyptians called it Nu, NU. Nu is the primordial force in the universe. And I just took life and I flipped it because I didn't want to look like life as everybody else calls it life, right? So New Life Tools, right? Primordial life tools. So my mother used to run around the church years ago and she used to say, why should I be bound when others are free? And she would yell New Life. I never knew that would have an impact on my psychology. Because when I first thought of a business idea and what I wanted to do, right, dealing with my spiritual tools that I make, the consultations that I do, the first thing that I realized was new life. It just came to me like that, right? It just came to me like that. So at the end of the day, I learned how to change my frequency. In a book, I remember going to a bookstore called Borders, which is shut down now. And I went to the spiritual section because that's just what I was into at the time, right? There was no going back, right? I was into the metaphysics in 2007. I walked into a bookstore and there's a book sticking out of the shelf. I'll never forget this. And I went to go look at it and I picked it up and it said spiritual growth. And I said, man, well, this is kind of what I need, right? This is what I need. So I looked at the book and it was by an author named Sonia Roman. Sonia Roman. It's called Spiritual Growth. This book saved my life, y'all. It just totally saved my life because it taught me how to use my imagination to transform my emotions. Let me say that again. It taught me how to use my imagination, right? Imagination is very powerful. Albert Einstein said imagination is more powerful than knowledge, right? So it taught me how to use my imagination to transform my emotions, which is very important, right? Once I learned how to do that, I was able to change my frequency of how I felt on a continuous basis. And it became so easy until depression just totally just faded away. So I recommend anybody that's going through depression is you have to understand you're dealing with a low frequency, a lower part of yourself. All emotions could be transformed. I recommend people getting that book by Sonia Roman. It's called Spiritual Growth. You'll know it looks like a diamond on the front, right? Which is a representation of the soul. A very powerful book I got in 2007, and it helped me change my life. Anything I was going through, rough, sadness, pain, any type of thing I was going through, it gave you techniques in a book how to transform that emotion, right, into something higher. And to this day, I consider myself one of the most happiest people in the world, right? I go through things like anybody else go through, but if I ever get a point where my emotions start to feel low, I can literally transform that, okay? So I just wanted to get on here and do a video about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind and how those relate to, and emotions, right? And how those things relate to depression, okay? Depression is something that's very serious, but it could be overcome. It could be overcome. And the way you overcome it is by learning to deal with, understand how you feel, right? Deal with that. Don't keep ignoring it. You know what it is that's making you feel a certain way, right? You bury it. You don't want to deal with it. You don't even look it in the face. Deal with that thing. If you can't approach the person and deal with it, then let it go. Learn how to let stuff go, right? Let it go. Move on with your life. Practice emotional techniques. Spiritual Growth by Sonia Roman, and transform your emotions to have a better life. All right. So I just want to do a quick video today, basic video on depression, how to deal with it, right? And help people understand what it really is on a deeper level. So until next time, I'm going to say my little mantra, my little affirmation. Remember to think good thoughts because your thoughts become your reality. All right. Peace, family.